I'm Queen Sensitivity, and I'm about to do an energy update. I don't think I'll be able to focus on the camera. I think I'll keep wanting to look this way, so just be prepared. Um, I'm just gonna speak on everything that's like been happening. I think thank God for social media, even though I don't like it, because if I didn't have social media, then I wouldn't know that other people are experiencing pretty much the same thing, because everybody in my reality seems to um, be the same, which is very disappointing, and it just intensifies a sense of isolation. Um, yeah, loneliness. I felt really alone my whole life. I was listening to this reading by Karen from Soul Whispers. I think it was on our other channel. It was the Twin Flame 1111 channel. Um, and she was saying in the pile that I picked that when you were younger, you probably, people would ask you, like, what's wrong? What's wrong? My sister just asked me that when I left, like, what's wrong? And you would say, like, nothing, I don't know what's wrong. Because you didn't have the ability to articulate that, like, what was exactly wrong when you were younger. But then she was like, when you get older, then you're like, you realize that it is something wrong. There's something wrong about the way that reality is. Very wrong. It's not right, and it feels very draining and dense to people, to souls who are especially used to um, a great level of freedom. Um, yeah, and yeah, she was just like, it's not fine and it's not okay. Nobody's fine and nobody's okay. But everybody, a lot of people are just asleep, and they don't know how to access that part of them, or they still don't have the vocabulary. They didn't do any digging and try to figure it out. I think I'll do a lot of of this kind of talking today, like just jumping from one little thing to the next. But I remember my cousin my cousin asked me, like, how are you so, I keep hearing stuff in my ears, how are you so confident in what you do, like my spirituality? And I said, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. um, when you are like me, you cannot not see stuff. You can't miss it. And so you don't get to be young, dumb, and blissful and like, ha ha ha, hoo hoo hoo, and like get to have all those different types of, like, I don't know, typical experiences. I have a lot of wounding around not being normal, because it was very obvious when I was younger that I was not like anybody in my school and anybody in my family, and I could feel people not being able to understand me. And so even though I feel like people didn't necessarily say it, I could feel them kind of ostracizing me. Um, and even now, I feel like, I don't know, I get kind of offended, although I shouldn't, when, like, today my sister asked me, like, what's wrong with me, as if, like, I'm the one that is causing the disruption, when the truth is that everything is wrong. None of this is how it's supposed to be. I think when I was about 11 or so, I don't know, I think I was in middle school, I started writing all these stories. And in one of the stories I wrote, there was this character that was me, that was this girl, and she went to the movie theaters one day with her best friend and I think her little brother Buzz. Um, And when she got into the movie theater, um, she got up from her seat and something happened. Like, it blanked on and blanked off. And she paused and looked around to see if anybody had noticed it. And nobody had noticed it. And she turned around and there was this guy in front of her who was going to be like the male charmer of the story. And he was just staring at her. And she was like, what? And he was like, I didn't think anybody else could see behind the screen. Like, this is the stuff that I was writing about at a very young age. What the hell? Without anybody telling me about it. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of people. There are a lot of people like me who've had these experiences, but for some reason we get like really scattered out. We're away from each other, and I do feel like it was intentional, both in the sense that we chose to be spread out to have the biggest impact, and also I feel like it's interference so that we feel as lonely and isolated as possible, so that we feel depressed and we feel ostracized. And when you feel like that, then you don't, a lot of people don't actually realize their full potential and realize their full power. So yeah, it's been very hard. I think just finding that feeling of home has been extraordinarily increased. As I've mentioned several times recently, like, I've had just a lower and lower tolerance of BS. I'm at a point where I'm like, no more. I was literally considering just like not doing this anymore in terms of where I live. I'm just like, I'm so sick of it. Because I remember when I was younger, all these people online, they're like, get away from people who are toxic, and get away from people who don't see the value in you, and get away from people who, don't resonate with you at a, soul frequency. And I remember when I was like 15 and somebody said that online, and I'm like, I can't leave. I literally don't have anywhere else to go. And she was like, well, wait. Just just be feeling oppressed and wait till, you're able to get out. And then I became an adult, and I'm still not able to leave because of money and the economy. And this goes back to what I was saying about me not liking that I'm not normal. Because if I were normal, I'd be able to go and get a job as like a teacher, or a person who works at a dental office, or what else, a firewoman, or I don't know, a police officer, or a lawyer, or a nurse, or one of those jobs that are stable, because I'm really smart and I'm really blessed to where I could do those things. But the thing is that I cannot, like, my soul, I cannot tolerate it. My soul and my body, it will not let me. I feel like if I were in those environments, I would probably have a mental breakdown, and I would just become so depressed, and it just be worse and worse. And there's another thing where I'm like, anybody who would suggest those types of jobs to me as an option, because I have tried to be open to people in my life about, and when I'm talking about myself, all this stuff, I'm talking about everybody and everything, but especially light workers, especially star seeds. And I hope that my personal examples are able to connect with you in your personal life experiences. But I feel like it's very important for me to speak on this so that I can clear it in my field, because thus far I haven't been able to do so just talking to myself. And one of my tasks here on earth is to share and transmute in this way. So yeah, whenever I'm open and I ask, people who are close to me, like, for options for something that I can do, and they suggest jobs like this, it makes me feel even worse, because I'm just like, anybody who would suggest to me these types of careers, it's very telling that they don't know you at all. And I feel like it's even more insulting since I spend so much of my time sharing updates every single day. And for people who are close to you, they don't even read those, they don't even check them out. It's like there's no room for you to be confused about who I am and what I stand for, and yet it's not only possible but it's real. And I feel like that just goes to show you how we create our own realities, and people are only able to comprehend and perceive as much as their own consciousness will allow. So that's why I was saying I shouldn't take it personally. But then I do take it personally because I feel like, and I know I'm a human too, I'm a person too, and I deserve as much comfortability as the next person. At the same time, that same normalized state of being comfortable is exactly what's causing all the conflict and all the trouble. Um, what we need is to become as uncomfortable as possible. What we need is, change in a real sense of the word. And what we need is, self-actualization, self-awareness, and self-realization, um, in order to be free. I hope all of what I just said makes sense. If not, you know, what I'm projecting out energetically should translate uh, well. But yes, I did really want to speak on the loneliness. It's very, very lonely. I don't know. I just feel like, yeah. I've heard this from other star seeds too, other people that are channelers like me. Like they live these very isolated lives because on one hand we are highly sensitive, and so things that other people can like glance over, we can't. It really rubs us the wrong way. And like I said, like we've been kind of ostracized and alienated for that. But this is the way that we are, is a blueprint that is severely needed um, in the world. Them's the way the games are. I'm so sick of these bugs. I don't know. I'm just really annoyed. Oh yeah, I guess I can talk about that. So, oh, please don't bite me, ants. Please don't. I don't have any spray. So, the first time that I went to New Earth, where I was conscious of it, the higher dimensional Earth, I cried. I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again in case somebody missed that video or those videos. I cried because I felt so light. That was the first time I realized like just how much I am doing here. It's like I'm trying to figure out like a way to put it to like accurately like this bird just splashed into the water. This thing says bobcat. Okay. I'm trying to think. It's like here, I'm a student, right? I'm a student at this big ass high school, and like it's it's annoying and it's dense and it's hard, but like you don't know anything else. And then when I went up, so to speak, um, like it's like I realized that actually here I was like the principal of that school. I have so much responsibility here. I do so much holding together here, so much transmuting, so much clearing. It's like I said, I was like, I could feel that here I was holding on and like supporting so much. And then when I was in the higher dimension, I don't know which one, who cares? I was so free. I really didn't have anything like to do because everybody was like responsible for like they were conscious enough to like take care of their own shit, and so like we could just enjoy. And I feel like that's where I connect with the bugs. Like, you know how bugs hear, even though, you know, I love y'all insects, like we can't hear them. They don't really have a high mature consciousness in terms of like being able to communicate, because, you know, I feel like that's it, they're fairly intelligent. But like here they'll bite you, they'll crawl on your stuff. Like I can't just go lay down on the grass. It's no grass in front of me, it's dirt. But you know what I mean? Like I can't, it's these little prickly stick things, and then like the mud would get on my skin, and then a spider would come, and then something would land on me and like crawl up my nose and my ear. Like none of that was there in the new earth where I was. There were creatures, but they don't bother you, you know, unless you want to talk to them, you know, unless you want to interact with them. There's just, I feel like that's to say that there's so much miscommunication that happens here. But yeah, it was a vacation. It was a vacation. It felt like, wow, this is what it feels like not to have so much heaviness on me. And this is also something that I like to talk about, where I feel like people who look at my life, you know, and they see me and I don't have this typical job where I work 12-hour shifts and 8-hour shifts and have to stand on my feet all day, that I'm like, you know, I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, spend a day in my shoes. Like I used to think that all the time when I was like younger. I'm like, if people had to live like I live, where you can feel everything, where, you know, emotion coming from a person, you feel it times 100, I feel like people would go crazy. Is the way that people say like men would die from childbirth because they're not used to having that much pain. They don't have a high pain tolerance. They would pass out. That's how I feel. And so I feel like, put some respect on my name. And I feel like that's the space that I'm in now, where I don't have any more room for people who aren't able to see me and respect me and truly value and understand what I bring to the table. Because when people don't understand and value you, you know, then they kind of try to, like, I don't know, make you feel down and make you feel bad, and for not doing more, so to speak, because they don't see that how much you already do. Yeah, I'll give an example, I guess. Ramona Lappin said this in one of her Divine Feminine videos, where, you know, she does all this work, so much work, you know, doesn't get compensated for it nearly, you know, it's invaluable, you know. And somebody commented in the comments when she was saying that if you know, appreciate my work and you get something from it, then feel free to donate to me. And somebody commented, if you got like a podcast, if you if you went about it in this professional route and got you a podcast and hosted episodes, on a weekly basis or something like that, then I wouldn't feel bad about, donating you. I'd give to you freely. And her basically Ramona's response to that was like, have I not done enough? It's only people who don't see your value who would even say that. I was just watching the movie Soul. I was excited to watch it and I finished it. I didn't even know that Jamie Foxx was the main voice actor in it. So that was cool to find out. And there's this woman and she says this thing. She's like, there's this young fish or in the ocean, right? And he comes up to an older fish and the younger fish asks the older fish, hey, I'm looking for the ocean. Where is it? And the older fish says, you're in it. This is it. This is the ocean. And the younger fish says, no, it's not. This is just water. This is just water. And this is what I mean by, if you're not able to consciously comprehend it, if you're not conscious of yourself, then you aren't going to be able to appreciate the value of the ocean. It's like you have to no longer consent to people who are in your ocean and only see it as water. Yep. And it can be a very difficult thing to do because it's like you have to untangle your false ego from it, which can be very painful, which is necessary. And it's a nice chance, I would say, overall, to get to see who you really are when you start to disconnect from, and truly disconnect, truly remove yourself, truly stop consenting from everything that you aren't. I feel like for a long time I've felt like I've been living more and more authentically, as my true self. But then I realized recently, I've saw, thanks to some upheaval in my life, I got to see areas where I was still pretending, where I was still acting, where I was still giving consent to things that I don't agree with and things that I don't consent to, because I felt like if I didn't, then my safety and my security would be taken away from me. But as I've said before, the only safety and security that I have is with Source, is with Spirit, which is with myself. And so you have to get to a space where you can still be afraid. You can still be afraid, but you are no longer willing to accept less than you deserve, no longer willing to accept people who keep calling your ocean just some water, people who keep gaslighting you subconsciously, and you have to be willing to lose it all, in order to respect yourself. That's why I quit my job. Okay, let's get some messages from Spirit. I think what I'm going to do is get a Rumi Oracle card and then clarify it with these. Hopefully the wind won't blow this stuff away. This deck is by Alana Fairchild. I don't think I'm going to feel like commenting in the description. I don't know, maybe. I'll add my donation link in the description for anybody who would like to donate to me. I would really appreciate it. Oh, how many is that? That's 2? And then this one. All right. Thank you so much, baby. And then the thing about not being around people who value you is that you have to constantly be very vigilant about your boundaries and making sure that you don't slip into past behavior and old habits that no longer serve you. And so you can't enjoy. You can't enjoy. And I feel like that's one of the things that I felt when I went to the higher dimensional earth, where I was only surrounded by people who knew their boundaries and, you know, who loved themselves and, you know, in and out. And so I didn't have to worry about, you know, if I laugh at this joke, is somebody gonna come in and try to like knock me down? Like something like this actually happened yesterday, where I commented under this lovely post that was talking about what I'm talking about, what's going on, all this emotional clearing and stuff, like you're going crazy. And yeah, it was basically about how the matrix is going down. Yeah, and somebody underneath had commented, yeah, it's going down any moment now. And I said, yeah, like my lights just blinked on and off. And the person commented underneath that, they like laughed at me and they were like, sounds like you need to sage. And I'm just like, this was just a sacred space of just support. And now you've used it to kind of mock me and make fun of me as if I'm ignorant and I don't know the difference between, you know, some sort of negative entity being around me and a glitch in the matrix where the lights have blinked on and off, when in reality you're the person who just kind of revealed your own ignorance if you don't understand how the matrix is IA, which is therefore electricity and therefore associated with the power going on and off randomly, which is fine. You know, I'm ignorant in a lot of places, other people are ignorant, but that's what I mean by, like, you know, even sometimes when you know, when you're around people who aren't free in themselves, then you can't really relax and have fun. You have to constantly be vigilant about keeping yourself in your own peace, that you can't even enjoy. You can't even make a comment of something without somebody coming in and kind of trying to push you down, you know? And that's what I mean by, like, a lot of people, even starseeds, I've heard, like, their lives, like, people who are older than me, I'm like, they were able to go and make so many experiences, and, you know, a lot of them would call them mistakes, things they would rather not happen. I'm like, I never got to even pretend that I was in the in crowd, because my soul was always so awake. I was always very aware, and it always made me very uncomfortable, even when I did try. Let's clarify this one, please. I hope what I'm saying is, like, healing to somebody. Like, I hope, I don't know, it makes somebody feel good. I want to make more readings. I wanted to do a pick card, but, you know. Ooh, crap. See, the wind's blowing. Let's see what I can do. I got some crystals. Hold them down with some crystals. Please stay. I told y'all to leave me alone. I asked, please do not bite me. Please leave me alone, ants. They don't listen. What can I do? I think I'll put a cracker on the ground, a few feet over. Maybe they'll taste the cracker. Leave me alone. I don't know if ants eat crackers. Ugh. Anyhow, I'll just sit this way. Okay, some messages from Spirit. First one we got. Let love transform. So this is what it feels like everything that's happening right now. Like, let love transform. The number 14, one is the one of, I feel like, independence and fresh starts, renewal, but like at a higher level of self. So I feel like solar plexus, I'm going to associate with the number one of like having a better sense of self. And then 4, I associate with stability, groundedness, earth, the lower chakras, um, even the throat chakra, because I'm seeing blue. So I would say that the number 14 for me is feeling like having your higher self step more fully into you and having it stay. This is something that I've talked about before, where like, you know, spirit pushes you to try to get you to change, and you do change. And I've had this in my life where like something happened and I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna do that again, where it gets to this point where I allow this to happen in my reality. But then life goes on and you get comfortable and you let it happen again. And I feel like with this 3113, let love transform, this is a permanent um, transformation where we ain't going back no more after this. This is the feeling that I've been feeling for 2 weeks, but especially this past week. It's like, no, I'm done and I'm not doing this ever again. Yeah. I saw a hummingbird over here, which was strange. Yesterday, I saw 2 dead hummingbirds on the sidewalk, and it wasn't even near a tree. It was like near a building of concrete. I thought it was so strange. It's clarified by light the darkness. Be so sweet. And 10 of stones and 8 of cups. Wow, 8 of bowls. So yeah, these are huge changes that are happening. I feel like walking away from things that no longer serve you for forever, no going back. I feel like a lot of people may be moving locations, and I feel like this process is something that happens first, like in your mindset. Like you move away, you disconnect first. I remember when I was watching The Wedding Date, which I love, and Dermot's character, he was talking to, what's her name? Is it Debbie or something like that? He was talking to the main character, the main actress, I can't remember her name. I think her name was Kat in the film. And she was like, my fiance, he just dumped me out of the blue. And, then I was just miserable after that. And Dermot's character, he was like, first of all, there's no such thing as out of the blue. There's no such thing as out of the blue. This is something that has been a long time in the making. This process of leaving, of departing. And for people who are watching this and resonating with this, leaving and moving physically, mentally, has probably been something that you've wanted to do several times over the years. And now it's actually going to happen in a very real sense. And I feel like with the 10 of Pentacles, for some reason I'm getting like ancestral. It's a turtle. It's a turtle. Wow. That's a sign, see? Turtles are very slow. That's what people say. I feel like they're very quick too. Like I don't know. I feel like it's like that story, The Tortoise and the Hare. Like if you don't pay attention to them, they can go really fast. Like before you know it, they'll be there. But if you keep your eyes on them, it looks like they're going very slow. And there's this red bird over here, a cardinal, I think. But yeah, that's it. Like, that's what I'm saying, the turtle. And the turtle has its home on its back. And that's what I'm saying about, like, that their home on their back is something from their genetics, from their DNA. It's their birthright to have their home on their back. If you hear that sound. And so it's like this feeling of abundance being kind of blocked and denied from you, like lack spells and, you know, black magic trying to like keep it from you. And I feel like it took a long time, but it's arriving now. And it's not arriving in like trickles. It's arriving as the full home, the full package on the back of the turtle, which is also reminded me of the book by John Green, Turtles All the Way Down. Light in the darkness. This is you. I feel like imagine being on one of those old rickety cinder block stairwells, and it's like pitch black. It's this little squirrel here. It's pitch black, and you're the only person with a light, and it's like nobody to help you, nobody to like give you a pep talk. It feels like, for me, whenever I ask people who are close to me in my reality for advice, they give really bad advice. They don't really give good advice at all. And so it's like you have to be the one to see past their limited beliefs. I made a post to my story a while ago, but I feel like it's well enough known interview of Jay-Z talking about his uncle. They went to the cracker. Yay! All right, I can put my feet down. It's a famous interview of Jay-Z talking about his uncle and how his uncle was like, boy, you ain't gonna sell, like, you're not gonna sell 1 million records. Like, why would you think that? They would tell you to go and get a practical job and go and do this or do that on the weekends, but, you know, don't really give yourself fully to it. And Jay-Z was like, I sold 1 million records like 1 million times. Like, yeah, I've done that 1 million times. And nobody around him was like, you know, that was his uncle, that was his elder, that's somebody that he's supposed to get advice from, and it wasn't there because of his uncle's own limiting beliefs about himself. And this is you having to be that light for yourself. So good job. Next. As soon as I picked this up, a yellow butterfly went by. The impossible made possible. So this is kind of flowing from what I was saying about Jay-Z saying, like, his uncle said it was impossible, but he did it. He did the impossible over 1 million times. This is something I feel that's very deep. It feels like a big lie. There's this movie, I think it's called Big Eyes, with Amy Adams, and she's this very talented painter who came up with this particular style of painting, and it's like her husband just gaslights her and like tells her that she hasn't done enough, or, you know, nobody really cares that much about her paintings, nobody really cares about her all that much. And he leaves the house and goes out into the world, and he makes millions and becomes so famous off of her work. So with this impossible made possible, I'm feeling like the message is, you have been so magnificent, so incredible, so fantastic and stellar and phenomenal this whole time. And when the veil is lifted, as it is lifting now, you'll see how much you've been played. And I feel like that's where a lot of my anger and a lot of anger is coming from, to initiate change and no longer allowing it anymore. I feel like in the movie, when Amy Adams' character did question her husband, did question him and got upset, like, why don't I ever get anything? He would just gaslight her and, like, call her hysterical, call her she's crazy or she's overreacting. What's wrong with you? Like, that's the one I get. What's wrong with you? As if he's not the one that's doing the terrible deed. Do you see what I mean? It's just something that's deep within me. But, like, the anger is going to still be there. It's going to brew until it explodes. And, as ugly or non-polite that exposure, that explosion is, it's the only thing that lights a fire under her ass to get her to move and to take back her power. These people smell so good. They smell like my childhood, like the sunscreen from when I was younger. Yeah, we have Angel Rose. It feels like just taken for granted is what I can feel with this. Like, this person, their mascara is like running from their eyes, like this grief. And it's like, I finally got my rose back. I finally got my rights back. I finally got my masters back. I finally reclaimed my lands. I got this message in my head that I also posted to my story the other day. It was like, wait, why do I feel guilty for not being able to afford the prices of thieves? I have to remind myself, Jesus, these ants biting me. Leave me alone. Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I have to remind myself, like, this place, this land, if it belongs to anybody, it belongs to indigenous people. It belongs to Mexicans. I'm in Texas. It belongs to Native Americans. You know what I mean? And so why do I get upset when I'm not able to live up to the standards of fucking imposters? You know what I mean? It's like, let's take, for example, those fucking Catholic schools in places like Nigeria. And it's like, they come and they colonize and they're like, you talk like this, you dress like this, and you look like this. And then you feel guilty and you feel bad and you feel stressed for not being able to meet their demands. But it's your fucking country. You are the standard. You are the image that's supposed to be natural in your environment. And so it's like this inverted psychosis. It's like this inverted or misplaced insanity. The people who are colonizing are insane for expecting people who are native to look non-native, and yet that insanity is placed on the natives, which is just, it's a fancy form of me just saying the gaslighting, the making you question yourself, making you doubt yourself. And that's what it feels like here. It's like taking that back, and the process, a part of the process of taking that back and reclaiming your beauty, reclaiming your birthright, reclaiming your lands, reclaiming your value and your worth, is grief for knowing that it was ever taken from you in the first place, and that you went for so long, believing the bullshit. And I did. I believed it. Ooh, Yeah, look at this. The death card. The sunset card. It's like, you know, the sun is setting on that, and we're moving on forward to the truth, you know, everything being revealed. Oh, it's this feeling of like just lies, just a whole bunch of lies just being told. I think there's that movie, that Hypnotic or something movie with Ben Affleck, where it's kind of like that like they lie to him the whole time. It's this feeling of like Cinderella, the one with Hilary Duff, and like they keep telling her she's poor and she don't have nothing, but the truth is like she's the one that's rich. She's the one that owns the cars and the restaurant and the mansion, and they're the ones who are broke and have in fact been stealing from her and taking off of her. That's what this feels like. And it's like, it's over now, but there's this period of like adjusting, which therefore requires grieving over the loss of that veil. The number 13, number 9. The number 9 with the impossible made possible is also 9 is the ending of a chapter. Hey, little bird. What is that, a hawk? So nice. Okay. The last cards that we have. Ooh, I don't think I ever read this one. I think maybe one time. A new gown. So pretty. It's like after the transformation, like after the upheaval, comes like the kind of grief and like the revelation of just how deeply this shit went. And then now it's like, we're gonna dress you up and take you out to a ball. And it's gonna be so nice. It's gonna look so sweet. That's what I feel. It's like, you know, after all of this, now you're ready to take up the throne again. Now you're ready to dress up again. It's an emphasis on clothes and appearance, because for so long things have appeared in a way that is false and ingenuine. What's the Taylor Swift line? She's like, the Jokers dressing up as kings. Like the Jokers have been dressing up as kings, and the kings have been dressing up as the Jokers. Like being made to perform, being, you know, not taken seriously, being told that what they say and what they believe in is laughable, when actually they were speaking the truth. And the so-called kings were the ones that were playing tricks and making jokes and telling lies. A lot of reversal. And so I feel like Spirit's message is like, there needs to be a reconciliation. There needs to be a physical, the new gown is a physical thing, a physical reunion, reconciliation, rethroning of the true kings, the true queens, the true royal family, again, in a physical sense, as like the last, like, because this is what I was saying earlier about the 8 of Cups and it being something that you already envisioned in your mind, and then it goes through the grief as it kind of is transforming to physical, and then the last physical element needs to be an actual party, an actual gala. I think I'm gonna read a little bit of this one. Yeah, actually. Okay. Weary and consumed by longing, I was caressed by my beloved last night. My wounded soul was set free when I tasted the sweetness of love. My spirit was lifted at once. I surrendered my life while overflowing with joy, and my vision was filled with light. Love said, don't feel so hopeless, my weary, gloomy one, for my generosity is beyond forgetting those who devoted to me. See how boundless divine justice can be. behold my immeasurable kindness. Love embraced my spirit, and all my doubts vanished at once. A new glorious robe of honor was placed on my shoulders. Love offered me the power of new vision and the transforming touch of divine generosity, and placed the chalice of eternal wine in my hand. Ah, beloved, if you could only see the incredible gift, the symbolic robe being offered to you now, your fears would quake and tremble, disappearing more quickly than you could imagine. Your heart would take wings and become so light with your entire being would lift clean off the ground and soar like an angel bird amongst the playground of the Divine Mother's skies. We'll leave it at that. Alright, the other cards. They all over these crackers. Jeez Louise. I'm like, ugh, it's feast time. I feel like that's symbolic. It's like a buffet. They about to be stocked up, these ants on this cracker. Alright, we have Arcanafaria. I feel like this one was about like taking back your birthright. I'm gonna look at this one in the deck. Arcanafaria. I don't know how to pronounce it. Caution. A fairy framed in red feathers stands coolly in front of a window, the moon gently lighting the back of her head like a soft halo. At first glance, you might think she is here to help or befriend you, but think again. If you look closer, you will see the spiders crawling around their mistress. Look once more and you will notice her necklace resembling one of her 8-legged minions. The Spider Queen's dress resembles a web in which we may easily become tangled. Her wings are blood red like the red-back spiders that crawl within her hair. Okay. Yeah. So that was a very physical description. And it's I was saying about the physical ground. This is all about, this last set of cards is all about things happening in the 3D in a tangible way. And I feel like what this is talking about is reclaiming your shadows, reclaiming your darkness, reclaiming your subconscious. I've talked about this before. I'm not the first person to talk about this. I'm sure a lot of people know about this, but I'll repeat it now for the sake of context for this card. We create our realities, right? But for forever, we have been asleep and our subconscious has been greatly manipulated, controlled, whispered, in our ears, whispered in our subconscious, showing these things in our environment to trick us. And so it's like, yes, you create your reality, but like subconsciously most of the time if you're not conscious of it. And so this is like breaking into those haunted mansions. I've been watching a lot of scary movies lately. I love them for some reason recently. Maybe this is why. But like going into the whale house in the movie or the book, the It movie, like going into the whale house, going into the sewers, because for so long it's like the Matrix has been like, don't go in there, it's haunted. Don't go in there, you'll die. Don't go in there, it's scary. And so for, generation to generation, you just skip by it. And like, that's where a lot of the power is, in that whale house. The It thing is basically ruling the town. You need to go in there and get your fucking control back, get your power back, And I feel like that's what this is. Like, this Halloween, we're dressing up as our own monsters, and we're gonna be ourselves for once. If that makes sense. Like our full selves. We're not gonna be ashamed of our spider webs and our roaches and our rats and our inner demons. We're gonna dress up as them. We're gonna be them. We're gonna claim them back. Thank you so much, Wasp, for not bothering me. I'm very grateful. Thank you. You've stayed to yourself, unlike these pesky ants. The fire ants, that might be a spiritual animal that needs to be looked up. It's a lot of them. They done came up and showed out. Alright, now let's look at the tarot cards. We have Empress Bounty. See? That's what I was talking about. Taking back the full bounty. The full bounty. It's like how black people, African people, when they were forced here into slavery, they got the scraps. Like all the colonizers who weren't even from this place, oh, like casted out all the stuff they didn't want. They tossed it out. Their leftovers, their crumbs, and African people, black people made fucking masterpieces out of that stuff. You feel me? Like just like out of that stuff. And it's like you see now in the culture, like culture vultures, everybody like trying to like get these things, these scraps that they kind of kicked off and bring them back into the reality. So like I was just thinking about the word period the other day. Like people don't know this, but black people been saying period for forever. I remember when I was younger, I was like 6, and I remember my cousin was like, and that's period. I don't want to hear nothing else about it. Like we've been saying that for forever, but it only became like what's it called, like popular. Like, you know what I mean? Like you said the same thing about like henna, which is a African thing as well. A lot of people don't know that, but it is, because that tree is also in Africa. But like, Air Force Ones, like black people have been wearing those forever, and then like now you see people wearing them like internationally and stuff like that. And it's this feeling of like, that's what I feel with this bounty. Like all the things that people were made to feel ashamed of, like even with the big booties, the big breasts, like black women were kind of, well, not kind of, but like it's like demonized and said they were too voluptuous, overly sexualized for having the bodies that we naturally have. And then like you saw everybody in the world was trying to get like a fat ass and like big tits, and like even the full lip injections. But this feels like in a more authentic way, and in a way that is honest and truthful. It almost feels like an erasure of that, to the point where it was never separate in the first place. Like there were never these phases of like, we went to harvest, but we left the cabbage. We didn't see any value in the cabbage, so we left the cabbage and we took the carrots. We left the potatoes, but we took the green beans. It's that feeling, but it's like, it's as if that split never happened, is what I'm feeling with this bounty. Like we're coming in again for the first time, and we're gonna value it all, and we're gonna incorporate it all, and so there won't be this split and this divide and this lack of appreciation. Exemplar of arrows, I believe this is the King of Swords, which is the last card. Yep, this is what I'm saying. It feels like it's being righted. This is something that I was thinking about a lot as I was coming here to record this video, is the divine masculine, and how there's so little expectations for the divine masculine. And if we're going in terms of gender, for men don't really have a high standard of like morals to live up to. I remember I was watching an interview by Bia, this American rapper, and she was saying how she really wanted to give props to J. Cole and the other fellas, I think as she was saying, who don't make her feel uncomfortable, who don't ask to fuck her in exchange for verses, who don't try to like make a move on her. And this is something that I've experienced too, like the guy where I go get my car fixed, like I always love him so much because he never tries to hit on me. He never looks at my ass or my breasts. He never makes me feel sexualized and uncomfortable. And I'm always like so grateful for that. Like what the hell? Like why is it a thing where we're so grateful and we feel the need to like shout out to the men and masculine people who don't make you feel uncomfortable. And I feel like this is the re-establishing of that as if it never happened. It's like the mother, this deck, the person who created this deck, Carol Bridgers, and the person who created this one is Anne Stokes, illustrated by Stephen Bright. Just to say that. She said in the intro of the deck that she was very particular about putting feminine people as the kings, as the masculine people in this deck, because there's so much masculinity in the world. But isn't that ironic that like the world is like so masculine, and yet the standard for divine masculinity is so low? Like, just think about that. Like, the world is like overly masculine, but like, where is the divine masculine? I'm gonna enjoy this when I go back and listen to this later. Like, it just blows my mind. And I feel like it's because of this mother wound, or this rejection of the divine feminine. And so it's like now the divine feminine is in this place of the King of Swords. She's teaching and loving up on this baby little masculine here and showing him the ropes, passing down, you know, the divine masculine blueprint, the divine masculine way to be. And, you know, the divine feminine, it's not about being feminine. It's about being in touch with your heart, which is to be in touch with the earth, which is to be in touch with life, rather as opposed to being disconnected from it. When you're disconnected from it, that's the wound, that's the break apart, that's the separation from the divine feminine, which is the separation from the mother. You know what I mean? I feel like I could go on and on about this, and maybe I will. I feel like that's why the Empress also came out. The Bounty is the Empress. So what I was saying earlier, even about how they threw out the scraps of the things they didn't want, they left the cabbage, they took the carrots. This card, this Bounty card, is the Empress card. It's the Empress. And so that's what they did. That's what we did to the Empress. We took the stuff that we thought was the most valuable, and we left the stuff that we thought was scraps, instead of taking her fully for who she is. And now it is as if it's a rebirth of that, but it's also as if it never even happened. Because like, it's like now that we're putting on the costumes of our own demons, of our own monsters, and celebrating them, not even celebrating them, but like bringing them to light and not shaming them, accepting them. It's as if it never happened in the first place. It's completely healed. You know how when a bone breaks and then it heals, like there's still, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but you know, there's still like the little line, or like there's a phantom feeling of it being broken. It's like, it's completely healed. So it's as if it never happened in the first place. So I'm gonna leave it at that for this energy update. I heard Black Union, I don't know, Black Unicorn. Yeah, that's it for this energy update. Please leave a comment if you resonated with this. Feel free to donate, feel free to share. I really appreciate it. Any support that you would like to offer, I really appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel, and take care of yourself. Know that you're not alone, and I hope that this helped you to cleanse and clear your field, because it definitely helped me. Sure did. All right. Bye.